Israel has been expanding also its ground assault deep into Gaza on several fronts, with at least 15 of its soldiers having been killed in the last 24 hours, as we've reported. Satellite images and reports from the ground show Israeli troops invading the territory from 3 locations in the north and east. Israeli tanks have been seen south of Gaza City on the main Saladin road linking the north with the south. Israeli media say the military is trying to reach al-Rashid Street along the coast. If it succeeds, the Gaza Strip will be effectively cut in half. Well, let's discuss these military moves with Ejaz Haider, who's a foreign affairs and military analyst, joining us from Lahore in Pakistan. Thank you very much for your time. So let me ask you first about this latest attack on Jabalia refugee camp, another one on this camp. Israel on Tuesday said that a top Hamas commander was killed in the airstrikes on Tuesday. We've heard time and time about Israel having the most sophisticated militaries in the world. Why is one of the most sophisticated militaries in the world, with all its precision weapons, why is it that it can't kill one top Hamas commander, which is its stated military objective, without killing 100 civilians?
Thank you for having me. Urban combat is very tricky. In fact, Hamas actually rejected the claim that they had killed one of their leaders. And so, Israel has constantly been saying that Hamas uses civilians as a shield. But the second attack basically makes no sense because Israel has made no claim about why it did it, and it seems to be part of the unfolding scenario that we've been witnessing, unfortunately and very tragically, since October 8th, following the Hamas military operation against Israel, which is about collective punishment. I've been constantly watching your channel. A number of analysts and international law experts have been very clear about the fact that all these actions constitute war crimes. But going in is where Israel is gradually losing its asymmetric advantage over Hamas.
When you say going in, you mean the ground offensive, the ground incursion?
The ground offensive.
Yeah.
The ground incursion, because militarily, technologically, obviously, the IDF is one of the strongest militaries in the Middle East and also in the world. And Hamas doesn't have air force. Hamas cannot counter that. But once you go on the ground, the asymmetric advantage that Israel has with reference to its Iron Dome system or its air force or the kind of TNT that it has been dropping on Gaza, according to their own, estimates, 11,000 bombs. I mean, sitting here, I cannot even imagine the kind of TNT that they've dropped there.
Right.
But once you go in, you lose that asymmetric advantage because now you're going to go face to face, man to man, street to street, rubble to rubble, destroyed buildings to destroyed buildings.
Right. Well, let me just pick up on that, because as you say, they have the air power to support this ground incursion, and we've seen it. We've seen it with the constant airstrikes, the constant bombing as the Israeli troops are going in. And yet, in the last 24 hours or so, we've heard of 15 Israeli soldiers killed. What does that tell you about this ground incursion and the type of resistance Hamas is putting up? What is Hamas doing to counter this, in your view?
Right. As I said, urban combat is tricky. I mean, we can go back in history: Stalingrad, Grozny, Mosul, Fallujah. You can bomb the city, but ironically, when you bomb a city, you create a lot of rubble, destroyed buildings, and then you go in. And tanks and armored fighting vehicles, essentially, after a while, become fairly useless. Because unless you've got to get the dozers and everything, you've got to clear the rubble that you created in the first place, and you need to have foot infantry. Even if you go in with mechanized infantry, at some point people have to get down, and that is where their initial advantage is essentially neutralized, because the adversary that you're facing is in a place where it knows the terrain like the back of his hand. Uh, and I haven't been to Gaza, but from what I've been reading and watching over the last many years about the tunnels and the previous conflicts, uh, that is where Hamas has an advantage. So once the Israelis go in uh, on foot, and as I said previously, where they have to face off, uh, through infantry weapons. And infantry weapons, frankly, even in 21st century, are essentially the same as they were in the 20th century. You've got assault rifles, you've got sidearms, you've got shoulder-fired rocket-propelled grenade launchers. Hamas now also uses, innovatively, these normally commercially available drones that they're using as direct attack munitions. We've seen that on October 7th. They've also said that they've developed these shoulder-fired rockets,
Right.
which can take out the Makawas and the armored fighting vehicles. So yes, it'll now get down to the numbers and how far Hamas can sustain this through ammunition, food, water, the rest of it, and whatever they've stored for a protracted conflict.
Very interesting to hear your thoughts about this, and thank you for your insight. Ejaz Haider, a foreign affairs and military analyst, joining us there from Lahore in Pakistan.